Welcome to another episode of Let's Be Perfectly Queer. I've got a wonderful guest with me tonight. My friend Ben Rodgers is here. Ben is a Kingston-born artist, musician, actor, ally, and activist. He's also a survivor, having survived the debunked and torturous process of conversion therapy at the age of 19. It took many years to overcome the fear, shame, and hurt that was instilled in him. Now he has turned that negative to strength, courage, and healing, fighting back against conversion therapy at multiple levels of government and trying to create a first of its kind in Canada support group and service for survivors of conversion therapy. Please welcome Ben Rodgers to the show. Hey, Ben.
Howdy. Thank you for having me.
Listen, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. I know this is not an easy subject to talk about, especially when you're talking about lived experience in conversion therapy. I, thank goodness, am not one of those folks who has experienced it, but I certainly know yourself and others that have. And I applaud your courage and your resilience and strength for being as open about this, and for really the work you're doing to make some positive, real changes. So I'm just going to leave the floor open to you, Ben, and tell us your story. What's the Ben Rodgers story?
Like I said, thank you. That is a very large and random book. I'll tell you that much.
I believe it.
But we'll focus on this particular chapter.
Yes. Yes.
So growing up, I didn't have the easiest life. I'll tell you that much. Two older brothers who, some would say it was play fighting, but it was definitely a lot more violent and worse than that for me. Church kind of became it became my safe place. It was somewhere that I had outside of my family that was comfortable and it felt okay. And I mean, growing up in a small town, like I lived in Bancroft, Ontario for like 12 years of my childhood. And if you know where Bancroft, Ontario is, it is the middle of nowhere. And if you blink twice, you'll miss it. I say twice because we actually have two lights. And the weird thing, though, is when it came to the church, I never had any issues with the homosexuality part and the church part in a small town of all places. Now, don't get me wrong, there was definitely a lot of anti-homosexual issues in this small town growing up, which, I definitely fought firsthand and kind of enjoyed some of it. When you're the big guy who starts talking back to all the people that want to throw out all the, gay shaming situations and names, It was kind of fun.
I bet.
But you see, everyone has to have that moment where they grow up and, journey out into life, right? And that was me at 19. I ended up getting accepted to music theater school at the Brockville campus of St. Lawrence College. It was the first year that they were ever offering the program. And so the plan was I was going to go from Bancroft to Kingston, back to my hometown, stay with my mom for a few months during the summer, and head off to school, grow up.
Right.
Well, plans kind of changed. Kingston was my first city that had a gay bar that I got to live in, which was kind of cool in and of itself because, living in a small spit town to all of a sudden, ooh, a gay bar. And of all the names, it was one of the gayest names ever, Chez Fufu's.
Nice.
Yep. And the worst part about it is that you had to go in this door and then down this set of stairs, like into the basement of this building, and then into the bar. And the dance area was at the back of the bar. So it was like literally this downstairs back room bar.
Sure. The caverns. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, for a bunch of gays in a little city, it's something, right?
Sure.
Actually met Aaron Ashmore there. He bought me a drink.
Wow. Name dropper. Go on.
Hey, if I'm not, I grew up watching his brother on television. Like his brother, Sean Ashmore, is like my celebrity crush growing up. So the fact that they're twins, I'm sorry, that is like one of those.
I get it.
Yeah, we'll leave that over there.
That's for another show, Ben.
Exactly. So, Kingston wasn't all bad. it was a little more extreme in some of the violence against homosexuality I endured. People driving by, throwing things out of their vehicles at me, swearing at me, calling me many names and words that I can't even say on the air here. And I was lacking something that I had to get rid of when I moved away, and that was my church family. You know, my friends, all these people that were there for me, and now they were all gone.
Sure.
So my brother and his wife and my mom all attended this church called, well, actually, I don't know if I can say it online or on here for whatever purposes, but it's a church in Kingston.
Okay.
I just want to make sure my own butt's covered for whatever.
I understand. Yeah, of course.
And initially it was great. I started with the young adults, like the youth program that they had there, and it was like they welcomed me with open arms. It seemed like, you know, too good to be true, which it turned out to be. They had a rock band basically for a worship team. They had a dance team. They had basically like a rec room in the back of the church. Like, as a 19-year-old, who wouldn't love that after just having to give up everything basically that they had?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, because you're not only gaining that space that feels safe, but you've got those additional supports around you, or what appear to be supports.
Exactly. And, you know, so it was already, you know, a general comfort zone for me to go to the church and do that type of stuff. So when it didn't seem all negative, I went with it. And you know, I was a very devout person. Like when I believe in something, I throw everything I have into it. You know that just from working with me, even the little bit that we have.
Right, for sure.
I can be definitely a loud voice.
And passionate, yes.
Yeah. And so, you know, I thought this was going to be a good place. Like the leaders seemed good. They wanted to work with me. They seemed really passionate about, you know, my walk with God, my Christian strength. Until I started attending the regular services and realizing that if I wanted to continue on with the church, there were things I had to start getting rid of. I had to start cutting off my friends. I had to start cutting off basically anything to do with my old gay lifestyle. I had to go through mentoring and different, you know, gearings, I would easily state that as, to become what they wanted. And that was very much, they wanted that man of God, as long as that man of God was not gay.
Right.
And so basically they used my past traumas against me. Like when I was a child, I was sexually molested. And right over the years, you know, when you go through puberty, you try to, you know, identify your sexuality and who you are. So it really messed me up as a kid. And it took me until I was 18 to finally switch from how can I like something I hate to I hate what, you know, that, let's throw in a swear word or whatever, who wants to put there. I hated the action that was done to me. It wasn't, I didn't hate homosexuality. I hated the act that was done to me.
Sure, because there was no consent, right?
Yeah, and as 18, not many people at the age of 18 are able to comprehend and actually get to that point on their own. And I had to. Luckily, I had, you know, some decent friends in a small town community, you know, some ride or dies. And, you know, it actually turned out pretty all right for me. Like I came out in a small town. I was, you know, I'm built like a brick shit house. Sorry. A little extra meat on the bones, mind you, but still bricks of some sort.
You're a solid boy, yes.
Exactly. Some of them might be made of jelly, but they all fit together. So yeah, it ended up all culminating to, these are my new leaders. These are my new mentors. These are my new, you know, the people that are supposed to be guiding me in the right direction. And my mom agreed with them. My brother and sister-in-law agreed with them. Everything seemed like if I wanted to continue on in a proper life, I had to do what I was told. And what I was told is I needed to, you know, deal with it. And they knew how, apparently. They had this miracle situation of being able to cast out demons, and they were able to identify that I had the demons of lust and homosexuality within me. Because when I was a child, I let an older man take advantage of me.
Wow.
Yeah. And I decided to pursue that lifestyle. So that's how I got demons in me. Demons. I could think of a different comment to say of what was in me, but it wasn't demons. Sorry, that was dirtier than I think I meant it to be. But yeah, so I hit this point of F it, of I I still don't like telling this part because it sucks.
Take your time, my friend. I totally understand.
Basically, they made me hit this point of, if they are right and I am wrong, God will change me. They made me basically mentally give up on who I was and who I could have become then to follow what they told me I had to do. So I ended up having to do a 3-day dry fast. And what that is it's a fast where you do not eat and you do not drink anything. First and foremost, if you are not over the age of 25, a dry fast is not safe for you. And secondly, a dry fast is never safe for you if you have not consulted your family doctor first. Neither of which I was told at that time.
Right.
So I was journaling, and I actually have those journals. It's how I ended up remembering as much as I did when I finally came forward. And so yeah, no food, no liquid for 3 days. And at the end of the 3 days, I was to be waiting at the front of the church, because so how the church was set up, so it had basically the center, the main center area, and then 2 like wing sections.
Okay.
And I was to be waiting up at the front, and the pastor, his wife, and the counselor of the church, and I don't know who else. I guarantee those 3 because I remember the voices and I remember them. They came over and they started praying over me and laying their hands on me, like literally like hands pressed on my head, on my arm. Like, yeah, like it was very entrapping. Very, the creepiest part is they made you feel like it's what you had to do and what you wanted. And they tell you that you'll feel the spirit come upon you, and blah, 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 as they cast the demons out, and you'll feel weights lifted and all this other stuff. And I mean, I tell you, I felt something come on me that day, but it was, a bunch of freaking loons praying and yelling in tongues and casting out demons out of me. I was 19 years old. That's a freaking
19 years old, and you hadn't had anything to eat or drink in 3 days as well, right? So, yeah. Wow.
And so they do this, and like literally they are yelling. Like it's not, please God, play. It's and sounds kind of the same too. And so basically you end up having this moment of, you either go with their pressure and let the ushers put you down to the ground and let them do what they're doing, or they just don't stop doing what they're doing until you give in. So either way, you basically are put into a point of submission and forced to, submit to what they're presenting. With this came having to abide by being a straight man in their extreme, I don't even know the right word, cult-like endeavors. literally having to cut out everything that had to do with any form of my gay past, any people that I like, hung around with or talked to.
Yeah.
And basically having to abide by every rule that they gave you. And so to put a little extra context to this, when I got more involved, I was, again, like I mentioned, staying with my mom. Well, that couldn't stay. If I was going to be staying in Kingston, that definitely couldn't stay. So the church helped me find a place with a couple from the church. And that's basically how it all progressed. At the end of the summer, I was supposed to leave. I had a barbecue as a kind of going away, I'm headed off to school thing. And at that barbecue, I was approached by the junior pastor of the church. And basically, I was told that if I was to leave, I'd be entering back into everything that I was fighting against and opening myself up to the enemy. And yeah, that if I moved forward with that I'd be basically just walking into a death sentence with the devil. And so they offered me another one of those lovely golden ticket moments. So not only can you be straight and, have your parent love you again and be good with your family and, have great Christian friends and all this and all that, but we're also going to help you go to Bible college.
Mm.
They ran a school out of their church, which, as I found out in the last year, that it wasn't even an accredited school. So, fraudulent situations kind of going on there. But that's a whole another topic of conversation. And I mean, Bible college was actually something I was quite interested in, but knowing that I was a gay person, especially back in those days, that wasn't a possibility. Whereas music theater, I absolutely love and still love to this day. And, being a big guy, having an opportunity to get into a music theater school was a pretty amazing thing.
Absolutely.
And, there are times where I kind of look back and I wonder, it's like, would I be on Broadway today if I had been able to go to school and get it all done? Who knows? But at the same time, I'm still a pretty damn good actor, so I still have fun. But yeah, so I literally had to live this life where I was. So fast forwarding to September, school starts. I attended school from I got to the church at around 7, 8 in the morning and left the church somewhere between 12:30 and 2. I worked from 3 to 11, other than on Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, to which I was at church, and church twice. Remember, I also live with people from the church. Where I worked, I was given very specific instructions because, they would ask about your work, how things are going, blah, blah, blah. And I had a gay supervisor at my one place of work. And it was very much suggested to me that I needed to switch places. So I ended up transferring to a downtown location, which I actually met some really awesome friends, one of which I'm still friends with today. She's an amazing person. My Pooh Bear.
Everyone
Her name's Penny.
Those.
Her name's Penny, but I've called her Penny Pooh Bear like literally since I met her, and it just kind of stuck. And I mean, she's someone who has actually watched this struggle since I was at that church to after I left to this day. And she even said to me one day, she was like, "This place is killing you." Hmm. And it was like, no, I love my church. I love my life. I love it. You turn into a crazy church person in places like this because they kind of force you to be, because everything in your life revolves around it.
Sure.
I ended up getting in trouble on a couple occasions for literally trying to do something nice for other people. The one I wanted to have like a dinner and games night type thing for a few of the guys who would help me out with drives. Like they would, pick up my tabs at when we go out after youth nights and stuff like that. So I had a little extra cash and I wanted to do something nice. So I made these name cards, and my creative side. But I made these name cards and I had their name done in design work and everything. And on the other side, it was just kind of a note to them saying, it's like, I respect you, that like what I think, blah, blah, blah. And just inviting them out to, come have dinner and play some video games. I got called to the dean's office. I was basically told to sit down, shut up, and listen. Not in those words, but not too far off.
Right.
With the two of the guys sitting in the room and the dean behind his desk. And the two guys got to say something, then they left. And then I was told that what I had done was completely inappropriate. It is not how men act. The colors that I used were inappropriate because I had like 4 colors left and they were metallic gel pens. And the one was like a red color, so it looked more pink on the page. And
Right.
it's like, they're freaking pens, dude. It's art. And so I literally ended up getting in trouble for that. And I was taken off my ministry duties for 2 weeks and told I was not allowed to do the kids' church. Very specifically, that I was not allowed to do the kids' church. If you recall the gay life in the early 2000s, what was that code for saying about a gay person? I'm basically calling them a pedophile.
Right.
And 2 of my little nieces were in this church, in this kids' church, and I did not appreciate the commentary.
Connotation? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, I left it. You have to do what you're told, whatever. And I ended up questioning them on it later because it just kind of kept nagging at me. And I was like, this isn't right. Something about this is not right. And so I questioned it. And well, I found out later on that questioning is a bad thing. Having an opinion is a bad thing. Apparently, your best class in Bible college should not be Carlton World's religions. And apparently, doing your independent study project on ghosts and witches is also a bad idea. Oops.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're going to tell me something that is concrete information and then tell me to do a project that basically is meant to disprove that concrete information and I'm able to do it, that is a you problem, not a me problem.
Amen.
Basically, I was told that ghosts and witches did not exist throughout biblical history and that magic is false and, it's, demonic and all that stuff. Yet, if you actually look through biblical history, they talk about ghosts in a number of spots, and there's a very specific place, I forget which chapter it is, but it's basically 2 of the apostles go seeking the aid of a witch for counsel to figure out where Jesus had gone.
Yeah, I mean, interpretation, right?
Yeah. Well, that's okay. Homosexuality wasn't even a word in the Bible until, like, what, the 15th century? Go figure. It used to be pedophilia, but the Roman Catholic Church didn't appreciate that word being in the Bible. I can't imagine why. And decided to switch it over to homosexuality, so it was less offensive for the Romans and, more apt to attack other people. Little point of history, if you care. Sorry, I tend to tangent sometimes when my brain kind of rattles.
That's okay. I can control those.
But yeah, so that was the first time I got in trouble. The next big time I got in trouble, the people that I was living with went through one of my boxes and found an old floppy disk from high school. It had, as you can imagine, a few pictures of some men in their underwear, along with a story that I'd written in English writing, which is more the prominent thing because it literally says story on the freaking disc, but that might not be the obvious answer.
Right.
And so they went on my desk and found those pictures and reported it back to the church. My brother doing a similar thing. I was on his computer doing homework, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically in between MySpace and Facebook. There was this chat thing, like a weird website that you could go on and talk to people all across the world. And I had friends through cadets and otherwise. And so I was saying to my goodbyes, just kind of closing things out. And because guys can talk to guys on this particular site and girls can talk to girls type thing, he automatically thought it was a gay website and reported me for it.
Wow.
So I got called into the head pastor's office on this one. I got sat down in the chair across from his desk, and basically his commentary was, all right, we're just going to cut right to it. What did you do? Yeah, it was like, I had no idea why I was even in this office. And it was just like, I was being accused of doing something wrong, to which I had no bloody clue what it was. So as this progressed, the junior pastor, senior pastor, the relationships pastor, the counselor, his wife, and I'm pretty sure the up and coming junior pastor, we will just put it that way, we're all in this room, all standing around me, basically telling me to confess what I had done wrong and admit my sins so that we could get past it and pray over it and deal with it. So I started running through my head, what the hell could I have done, backtracking myself to before I was like, when I just started with the church and I had hooked up with a couple guys off of gay.com way back in the day. Wow, I just aged myself.
Listen, we're going to have to cut it short here because we have run out of time. I knew it would happen, as it does with any interesting guests. But we're going to continue this conversation, Ben. With your permission, I'd love to have you back on our next episode to continue this conversation right where we left off, because this is something that I think really needs to be shared. And we certainly want to hear what you're doing today to help combat some of these demons in your past. So thank you very much for sharing. We will see you on our next episode. And thank you for joining us for another episode of Let's Be Perfectly Queer. Come back next week for the rest of this story.